Hey everybody. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing something from southern France. In particular, tomate provençale. Now, why that? Well, first of all, I have a lot of tomatoes growing in the garden. They're super ripe, and I need to do something with it. I have lots of herbs, and whenever you think Provence or southern France, you have tomatoes, garlic, olive oil, and lots of herbs. And this is what this dish is going to be. Now, the classic method would be to cut your tomato in half, you pan sear it, and you get what's known as la vitrail, or the stained glass, the caramelization on the tomatoes. Then you put it in a baking dish and bake it. However, a lot of people either overcook it, burn it, and the end result is soggy and burnt. I'm going to be using a method by Chef Éric Ripert from Le Bernardin restaurant in New York. And what he does is he cuts it into three, broils it, finishes up with a bit of garlic, broil it again, and serve. Cleaner result. It's a modern take on classical French cuisine. I think you'll like it. Anyways, let's check it out. In order to make tomate provençale, we're going to need tomatoes. So I'm going to use approximately 3 of them, which is about 600 grams. Super ripe, fresh from the garden. You also need herbs. I have oregano growing in the garden, which is a Mediterranean staple, as well as lavender. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use a mix of dried herbs. So I'm drying up some lavender, some thyme, and some parsley here, but there are a few more herbs. So here we go. Here's the blend. Basically, you're going to need thyme, oregano, parsley, fennel, lavender, celery seed, and a bay leaf. I'll have the proportions written below, but just remember, these are all common herbs to the Provence area, and they lend a nice flavor to your tomatoes. Now for the bay leaf, it's a little bit big, as are the fennel seeds, so we're going to crush them up so that they can fit over all the tomato slices. If you don't have fennel, you can replace it with tarragon. It's another common herb. Anyways, let's get on with it. Now most of these herbs have a very strong flavor with the exception of the parsley, and the lavender has a very strong floral, and I reserve the celery seed for the very end. You get a herbaceous, floral, a bit of licorice from the fennel, a really nice balance to add to your tomatoes, which complement all these flavors. A sweet vehicle for all those herbs. Anyways, let's get on with making it. First things first, we're going to take out the core of our tomato. So go in at an angle, rotate around the center, and that's done. Another Provençal flavor is garlic. So we take 1 clove and we slice it very thinly. Now, I'm going to use the same method that Chef Éric Ripert does, is I'm going to cut the tomato into 3 pieces. So you take the bottom off and then you cut it into 3 even thick slices. Instead of cutting it in half, this will cut your cooking time into half. Then what we're going to do is we're going to season both sides with salt and pepper, and then we're going to get ready for our next step. Now for the equipment. Basically, I'm going to take a pan, cut out a round of parchment paper, put some olive oil down, and then I'm going to brush it out to all the corners, and then lay down our tomato slices onto this. Very simple. Then we put our tomato slices down, and then we're going to get ready for our next step. Now traditionally this was done in a frying pan, and then it's transferred into a baking dish. But I find Chef Ripert's method cooks a little bit quicker and the flavors are a little more clean. Now we take our freshly made herbes de Provence and we sprinkle them over our tomato slices. Pretty straightforward. Then we put them in the broiler for 4 minutes. Nice intense heat. Then what we do is we remove them, put the garlic slices on top, and we put it back in the broiler. Now, if we were to put the garlic in right at the beginning, it would burn and taste bitter. So this way, you get the garlic flavor, no bitterness, and all those herbs and olive oil start to blend together. While the tomatoes are cooking for another 4 minutes, I'm going to slice up some fresh herbs, some basil and parsley in this case, and you add this at the very end. This ensures a good intensity of flavor and no oxidation. Then we take out our tomatoes and we test it with a knife. Just poke in a thick part. If it comes out clean, your tomatoes are done. And now I sprinkle with my herbs, and as an additional flavor, I put in some fine breadcrumbs just to give it a little bit of crunch, a little texture, and a little more flavor. And that's it. We take a slice, we transfer it onto our plate, and we arrange it in a simple manner. But don't forget, there's a lot of goodness that's attached to the baking pan. All those juices you can pour over your tomatoes, with a little drizzle of olive oil, and serve with bread. Southern France on a plate. Merci encore, Chef Ripert. Have a great week, everybody.